Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Bingers
with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Bingers.
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good devil.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family. I can do this all day.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
You know, man, I don't know if you can see. I'm very excited. First of all, hello.
Hello.
You're here.
I am here
in the person. We are recording live, and we have a special guest, Matt. I'm just too excited. You just introduce the movie, introduce the guest.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I don't believe we've recorded together in years.
Yeah, in literal years.
In literal years. I'm standing right next to you, and it feels really, really weird.
I know, right?
I'm typically staring in front. I'm staring at my screen so I can look at both of you, but now I feel like I need to look at you, because you're standing right next to me. But also, is that weird? I'm talking. No, well, not really. I feel weird if I don't. If I don't look at you and just look at you through the screen. It's probably helpful if you
just look. If we just look forward.
Just look forward?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If I do this, don't be weirded out, because it'd be like a react. Yeah. Just go back and forth. All right. With the movie in question, is we're gonna be reviewing Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, and there's no other person we wanted on this show for this than Nick Rivera. Welcome back to the show, Nick. How are you doing? I think you muted yourself. Where'd you go?
Oh.
Come on.
There you
are. What happened?
Come on.
Amateur. Amateur hour over here, sorry.
My God. What a rocky start that was.
I think it was better than the last one we tried.
That's true. This is round 2 on the.
Yeah, this is round 2.
This is take 2 on the start of the intro. But Nick, how you do? Last time we had you on the show was Super Mario Brothers.
Mario Brothers, yeah.
Almost a year.
Yeah, no,
ago.
I'm doing well. I'm doing good. I've got my engineer hat on, and I've been working on Ghostbusters stuff. So
yeah, no kidding. You said you've done either a second or you've updated the proton pack that you've already made.
I would love to see that I mean, you were showing us a little bit earlier. Yeah, let's go ahead.
You want to see it? Okay.
Yeah, of course. Show and tell. And he's gonna get up here. He's getting it ready for us.
Yeah, for those listening,
yes,
Nick's bringing out his proton pack. You made this, didn't you?
Yeah, we're putting him to work. It's pretty big.
Okay, so this one I did not make.
Oh, you did?
I bought this. This was what Hasbro put out a proton pack a couple years ago. They did a small run, and hold on, I'm tangled up here.
Yeah.
They did a small run of proton packs. I want to say I got this January 2023. So
okay.
They must have put it out in 2022. And they didn't ship till January of 23.
Yeah, we're putting Nick to work here. He's all just
yeah.
I know, right? He's like, shit, I'm just talking about Ghostbusters up here. Got me sweating this shit.
Who the hell are these guys? Just trying to I'm just trying to put this thing up into the game. We appreciate it though.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, no, this thing is cool. I replaced the bumper. This bumper was just it was gray, and it had they two prongs, and this one has 3 from the movie. And then there's also this guy is different in the new movie. And what else? Oh, there's on the Neutrona one, there's a new yellow plate and a new grip handle.
Wow. Ed, can you turn it on for us and see? Let's
oh, for sure.
I want to hear roar.
I want to hear roar. Get that proton pack going.
Turn it on and shoot it right into the camera. Come on. Yeah.
Now, do you bring this thing to cons?
This one, no, because some of the wires and stuff are really delicate, and like this comes off really easily, and I'm just like afraid that I'm gonna lose pieces.
That's fair.
So I don't want to. I don't want to bring it anywhere.
So it's just a fun toy to play with at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, just to have it like a collector's item for sure.
Yes,
I am working on a proton pack to like take places with me.
Okay, all right. So, and this is why we have Nick on the show, because he's a dedicated fan for sure. We're gonna let him put that away, and we're gonna talk about who's starring in this movie. Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire is the movie we are reviewing, starring Par Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, Kumail Nanjiani, Celeste O'Connor, Logan Kim, Emily Allen, and Alan Lind, I believe.
Emily Allen Lind. And then the return of the original Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray, and Annie Potts. It's written directed by Gil Keenan, who directed the director behind Monster House, City of Ember, the Poltergeist film, and the 2015 movie, and A Boy Called Christmas. And he is also the writer behind Ghostbusters Afterlife. And then it's also written by Jason Reitman, who was the director behind Ghostbusters Afterlife, Juno, and Up in the Air. Also the son of Ivan Reitman, may he rest in peace, the original director of Ghostbusters 1 and 2. So, with that, Nick, now you're situated, back and ready to go. We appreciate you you showing us all your fun toys there.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, we brought you on for Afterlife. You were a no-brainer bringing you back on for New Empire. Just for time restraints, this episode is just going to be filled with us talking about Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. Next week, we'll either dive into, well, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to make any promises. I don't know if we're going to be doing news or what you're watching. We might just do the review again because time is tight. But either way, we were here to talk about Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. So, Nick, we're going to start with you. What is your thoughts on the film?
So up top, I'm just gonna say I liked it a lot, but there, I did have issues with some of the story. There was a lot of characters; they jumped around a lot, and I feel like some of like the extra plots were a little bit weaker. Where if they would have cut down some of it, it would have been a better story.
Okay, Ernesto, what about you?
But I did.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, but like after saying all that, I had a lot of fun. My main complaint about the last movie, not enough ghosts. This one got plenty of ghosts.
That's true.
Got plenty of ghosts in this one.
Well, we got a lot of ghosts, but the only one we focused on was Garaka. And we had the subway monster, and I felt like we had 4, that we really interacted. It was Slimer, Garaka, that subway monster, and the Stay Puft Marshmallows. Well, no, that's
we also
there was also the little red guy that was bouncing around. I can't think of what his name was.
I liked him.
But the possessor was in there.
We also
but there wasn't a lot of busting. This is what I meant to say. This is what I mean to say.
Yeah,
but there's also
and then
girl,
there was
the girl. She was a ghost.
And the girl.
Yeah, she was a main character.
She was a ghost.
Yeah, she was a ghost throughout the whole time.
What I mean is as far as like ghosts that they were busting. I felt like the first movie and the second, you get like the little montage of busting ghosts, and that's kind of like what we're here to see. Although I liked the movie. I thought it was fun. Like, I had a good time.
Yeah.
It was like, the kids, and here's what it's what I always tell you. Like, if I'm going to watch it with my kids, and they like it, and we're all having a good time, then the experience, like their enjoyment is enhancing the experience.
Right.
And it was funny. I mean, it was silly, though. I mean, as story wise, there were some things that could have been worked out. Like, I felt like it was a lot of build up to Garaka. What I would have liked is seen him come out way earlier in the movie, because then you would have had more time for McKenna Grace's character to really focus on what she did, having to deal, almost spending half of the movie having to deal with what she did, because it happened almost towards the end, almost toward the end of the movie. He got released, and it was let's go to the firehouse, and then that was the final showdown. Whereas if he would have came out earlier and bust a ghost out earlier, we could have gotten maybe more ghost busting of them trying to deal with the low level ghosts, with him wreaking more of his Frozen Empire havoc. We would have gotten way more of that in the movie. But I mean, overall, it was fine to me. So it was just for me, it was a lot of build up and less execution. But I think overall, in some interviews and stuff I've seen with the director and the writer and the writers, is that that this is like the setup. They want to release the ghost so they can set up for more whatever they're going to do later. Because the whole movie was the build up for the containment to open, because now all the ghosts are out.
Right.
So now they have a much bigger problem to deal with in the next movie.
Yeah, which honestly, I feel like I wish that was just the plot of the movie. Like I wish that
That's
movie.
The next movie.
I get it, but I wish that was this movie. Like, because I think they set it up to where the containment's full. We have to move her, and like honestly, I liked the first half of this movie. Overall, I thought this movie was just fine. Like I think it really just. I think it kind of teetered toward the end. Like, it also felt a little too long for what the story they were trying to say. And it kind of... I was a little bit underwhelmed walking out of it, considering how much I loved Afterlife.
Afterlife was such a... I feel like it was such a better movie, you know?
Yes,
but
absolutely. I do think Afterlife was a better movie, but also it's not the same movie as Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And it's
correct.
This Frozen Empire also felt like a different movie from Afterlife. Afterlife felt very much like a self-contained like story that we're honoring the franchise in a way. We're also honoring Harold Ramis, who was playing Egon. Like, that whole movie was about him, and there's so much heart behind that. And it you can feel that in there. By the time the movie's over, you're shedding a tear from everything that's happening. There's so much emotional weight behind it that this one, I don't think I was expecting it based off the trailer. I was like, okay, maybe we're just going back to form on, like, we're just kind of just going back to form of what the Ghostbusters was. But to Ernesto's point, there wasn't a lot of busting of ghosts. There were just more ghosts within our story. At this point, the ghosts have always been the threat of 1 and 2. And we have to stop it. This one was more like, we're just having fun with ghosts being in our environment, whether it's a threat, whether they're friendly, whether they're goofy. They're just a whole bunch of them. I read somewhere that they compared this to, like, this feels like an episode of like the cartoon.
So, it's... They've referenced the cartoon a ton in the movie, and I think they even said that that's where they drew inspiration from for this film, is from the real Ghostbusters.
I can see it.
Oh,
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of all over the place, but yeah, I think overall for me it was just a little underwhelming when it came to the story, since the first one was so strong. I know Jason Reitman wrote and directed Afterlife, but he also co-wrote it with our director, Gil Kenan. And so now I was a little bit apprehensive when he wasn't coming back to do the sequel, but then I saw that, okay, if Gil Kenan's coming in to direct and write, and then Jason Reitman's writing, so they kind of just flipped spots here. They both still wrote the movie.
Yeah.
It just Reitman is not directing it, but Kenan. And so at this point, like, okay, so I figured it wasn't going to stray too far off from what we've done, but clearly this was. And there was a point in the movie where I'm like, where are we going with this? Like, I don't know what my threat is. All of a sudden, Patton Oswalt came in.
Remy from Ratatouille.
What a weird pull, but yes, that is Remy from Ratatouille. But yeah, he comes in, says a few words. He's just basically like, you know that in one scene there's always like the scientist that says, "Oh, this is what this means," and then leaves.
Yeah, he's the fact person.
He's the fact.
They went for him for.
It's like blowing up air in a balloon.
Yes. And then you also have Kumail Nanjiani, which that's an interesting choice. I don't know. What did you think about him, Nick?
I love Kumail. I've probably been following Kumail's like career for probably longer than most people, just because I know him from Portlandia. He did a comedy show with Jonah Ray Rodriguez that I watched for a long time. But I enjoyed his character. I thought he was like comparable to like Trevor's character, right? He was like another Trevor.
Can you remind me who Trevor?
Because they got along so well.
Can you remind me who Trevor was? I forgot who Trevor was.
Finn Wolfhard.
Oh, Finn. Okay, got it. Okay.
And he was kind of underutilized. Finn Wolfhard was kind of underutilized in the whole. Where I felt like they touched on a subplot for him, where him like being an adult and like trying to figure his stuff out, but then like we never really.
They just kind of like used him as a gag for Slimer, like.
They kind of set up for it, but then there was no like payoff in the end.
There was no real payoff either.
Of him like learning to be a Ghostbuster and like having to deal with Slimer, like they set it up. All they had to do is give one more scene of the two of them, of him like either coming to terms with him or catching, obviously not catch him because they don't ever catch him, but like coming to terms with like how they deal with him and like really coming into his own as a Ghostbuster. Even if they had given us that, I would have liked it a little bit better. It's just. And there was a lot of nostalgia. Like you get the scene in the whole library scene was just like, it's like we're just recalling the first movie. Like which I understand because isn't this movie release? It's the 40-year anniversary of the first.
This is the 40th anniversary in I think June.
But the same year is the same anniversary, so it makes sense for those specific callbacks. And I mean, I was fine with it. It was fun. It was a fine movie.
I think I don't think that this.
You just wanted more.
Look, I did want more, but okay. So let me back up a little bit. I, as you know, am not the biggest fan of Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I think I've already stated that before.
Yes,
I've seen them. I think they're fine. I think they're a little bit goofy in its own right. It's very silly, and there's also the story's kind of all over the place. So when I saw Afterlife, I was like, wow, that's a movie. I rewatched it again, and I was like, I still cried at the end of the movie. And I was like, I don't care for this. No, I don't care for it, but like I'm not attached to this franchise. But
it's still emotional,
Emotional, absolutely. Like I understand what this is for, not only for the sense of the movie, but just for the sake of everything that's surrounding the movie behind the scenes as well. So it works so well for what they're trying to do for this. And then this movie just feels. It honestly doesn't even feel like the first two movies. It feels very different from anything that Ghostbusters have done, and I don't think it did a great job of expanding the Ghostbusters universe to its fullest potential, because we barely even used the original Ghostbusters of passing the torch. The Afterlife felt more. Actually, they didn't really pass anything. They just showed up at the end.
No,
of the movie.
They just showed up at the end. Yeah,
that's all they really did. And I felt like this movie, especially with the end credit scene of Ernie Hudson being like, "Hey, we're gonna bring back Ghostbusters into New York City," like kind of opening the door for for a new generation to come in. And I feel like, honestly, the only time I felt that was in the beginning of the movie, where like, hey, there's a ghost roaming the streets, and we got to go bust him. That to me was a great way to start the movie, because that was a busting ghosts. And then you had the funny dynamic of like, what's Paul Rudd to this family? He's kind of like,
I like that.
No, so did I.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
That storyline.
It was more him just being like, well, I'm not your dad. Well, I mean, I'm kind of dating your mom. And then they had that weird interaction where they're like, remember that one time when we were like ghosts and we kind of like, did some stuff. And I was like, okay. And then they're like, gross. And I was like, man, we're still calling that back. It's been 3 years. Get over it. I'm sure you've done it more times than that. If you haven't, then that's, I don't know what kind of relationship you got.
I will say that's the one thing you just reminded me, that the movie kind of solidified. It kind of solidified as Paul Rudd as the new leader of the Ghostbusters. It's like, that whole setup of him like being accepted as the father figure, I feel like really settled into that. And him and and obviously McKenna Grace's character as well.
Well, I feel like that I think she is the lead.
Yeah.
I think she, if anybody, kind of sort of had the most character growth
100%
from anybody from the movie. I mean, she felt like she was she still feels like she's an outsider, even with her own family. Because now we're going back into government politics, into the world of Ghostbusters, where they get caught and they're like, well, you can't have a minor bus ghost because because that's the law.
Like, what's the precedent for catching paranormals?
Just by the mayor saying that you can't do it.
Yeah.
Then everyone's like, well, the mayor said you can't do it, so I guess you can't bust ghosts anymore.
Means no.
No
ghosts can
no.
just roam free.
Let
them go.
Sorry.
And that was again another callback, or they came back for a cameo for the mayor. I forgot his name, but.
William Atherton.
Yeah, he came back.
But a lot of them came back. The mayor, the guy from the library when they met him on the steps, because isn't he from the first movie too?
Oh, is he?
I think so.
Oh, I didn't.
They made it. They held on him like if he was.
Oh, I see.
Like they did the nostalgia thing.
The librarian.
Yes. Oh,
the guy at the library where he goes, "Oh, you can't come in here." That he was from the first movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And then obviously they brought back the librarian ghost.
Yes.
That was, I guess. Yes. I guess they never caught her.
And the test, the Bill Murray doing the test, because isn't that how it's either that's like the beginning of the movie, of the first movie.
Him. Yes.
Well, that's a different test that was. That he was rigging to try to sleep with that college student. Yeah, that was a very different test.
Yeah, different times.
Different times, different tests.
This is old man Bill Murray.
Yeah, but also not for nothing, but what purpose did honestly any of the original Ghostbusters had in this movie?
Well, Dan Aykroyd had
a big purpose. He's with podcasts doing that. YouTube show. That's collecting ghosts collecting possessed items.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly like that aspect of it. We're gonna collect possessed items, and then we are. I guess it has been. We have been doing this for many months / years now of a secret organization within the Ghostbusters thing that they have been underground doing secret.
Ghost zoo.
Secret ghost zoo.
A secret ghost zoo that you were not informing of the Ghostbusters of, for whatever reason, and I don't know why. And then all of a sudden, the girl came over, and she's like, "Oh, this is an internship." I was like, "So the girl from Afterlife and that's in the small town knew about this secret ghost zoo that was underground?"
Well,
technically podcast
maybe. Yeah, well, yeah, podcast knew probably because of Ray. Right. But I mean, they met Ernie in the last movie. They worked with Ernie and or I guess Winston. Yeah. They worked with Winston and all the other Ghostbusters, so maybe that's how they met, and that's how she got the internship is from him.
That part that didn't bother me.
That didn't bother you?
Even the whole ghost zoo thing didn't really bother me because he said from the
that's my favorite. That's my favorite part.
Like, because that's them evolving the brand of Ghostbusters.
Yes.
It's like, well, you're catching all these ghosts. Well, what are you gonna do with them? To me, that I actually like that because that was like a natural progression. And I think what the next step we're gonna see from the way this movie ended is like maybe Ghostbusters go global because the container was so big that he has the money and they already set it up. I mean, he's like Bruce Wayne, like he's got all the money. He's got all the money. He's funding everything.
Yeah, he's
Bruce Wayne and Lucius Fox.
Yeah. But I think for me is like why would I didn't see any reason why you would keep this information away from the Ghostbusters. I just didn't see any reason why that made any sense to me.
Maybe it's like you don't need to know.
Plausible deniability.
There's that.
Because how long they've been doing this? 3 years? They said it was 3 years they were doing this. So who knows how long they were staying at the firehouse? That's also very.
Because I think it wasn't. I think the way I remember it was interpreted is that they showed them they had the containment issues.
Yes.
And then that's what caused them to have to go to the ghost zoo.
Yeah. Yes.
So that they can show them with the new containment unit that they're working on.
Right, and they said that it was going to take years or so to transfer all those ghosts over to the new containment.
Because they would have to do it one by one.
So it seems like they found the natural progression point for them to find out about it.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll meet you there. I feel like this is.
And I don't usually justify that. But logically it works out. Logically it makes sense.
Okay, I'm not gonna die on that hill. It's not that battle's not worth it. I'll fight it. But yeah, but I agree with you. Like out of everything in this movie, that again, the beginning of it. Like
yeah,
the
chase
I agree. Scene, the containment's full. We have a new way of transferring all this stuff. All that is, I think that was great.
100%.
I think that's great. Where I get lost a little bit was when we started getting into, honestly, Kumail Nanjiani's whole role in this movie. Like, it just felt really out of left field for me. And
well, I mean, he had the ghost ball that Garaka was in, okay. You know, so he is trying to pawn it off for money to Ray, and his grandmother was a long line of like people who were protecting this item from getting out. It was in that room with all the, was it brass? Yes. The brass room, so it couldn't communicate with other ghosts.
Yeah. And that was the cool part, because I was reading an article from Den of Geek. They interviewed the director, and he was talking about like his inspiration for coming up with Garaka, and he's like, I guess he's been like drawing that kind of figure as a kid, and then like taking some inspiration from the fact that, you know, their research showing that like that people hold on to items and that certain metals had certain paranormal properties, and so they were able to take some aspects from what the ghost world thinks is. I mean, sure. You know, now because I know we're getting into the conversation of whether or not you believe in ghosts, and there's that whole thing.
I mean, we're talking about Ghostbusters here. At least
we're here. We're literally here.
Yes. So. Yeah. I know what the movie told me. I'm just saying,
it's okay if you wanted it to be better. Like, no, there's nothing wrong.
No, I do want it to be better.
Definitely could have. It definitely could have been better. It could have been brushed up.
For sure.
The writing could have been brushed up a little bit.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Like, because I think it's just a far left from kind of where we're going. But then I say that, and then you had Ghostbusters 2, which I guess wasn't maybe that far off. I honestly don't know, because he was just trying to get back to be human. What was Garaka's goal at the end? Just release the ghosts?
Well, he had a vendetta against humans in general because they imprisoned him into that ball. You know, he wanted to take over. And you know, it was pretty much like similar to the villain of Ghostbusters 2, Vigo. Mm-hmm. He just wanted to take over. You know,
just take over the world. One of those.
See, but that tracks for a movie for the audience age level that they're trying to reach. I think that this movie fits perfectly in that category.
Okay, like just a villain taking over the world.
Yeah,
and
like a very base level plot. Like, we're not getting into like the why he is Garaka. Like, this is not the Garaka origin story.
No. But also, I think part of me is like, I just see obviously he's a threat. He looks menacing and evil, and I get the idea that he's trapped and he has the personal vendetta, and these Ghostbusters are the only thing that's stopping him. But I mean, aside from that, like, I never saw him as a threat though, because we kept going away from our main villain and focusing on other parts of the movie where the tone also was kind of shifting a bit. Like, you go to Garaka's stuff and it's like horror, not really that horror, but like it's
menacing.
Darker. And then you go to like Finn Wolfhard and it's like, I'm just trying to get Slimer.
Here, follow my Cheetos.
And then you also have Paul Rudd trying to like integrate himself within the family, and then Bill Murray shows up for just to say that we got the Ghostbusters back. I don't know why. I mean, it almost feels like that he did not have enough time to be in this movie, so they just popped him in, because toward the end, when shit's hitting the fan, and then you think that's a knock on the...
He just shows
up. It's like, let's...
He just walks in, and he's like, hey, guys.
What's going on?
I'm here.
I put on the suit because I thought today was Friday.
What did he say? He's like, I got a one-liner. It looks like tall, dark, and horny.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
yeah.
Improvised. And they kept it.
But like, it was really like, to me, and same thing. I do agree. The beginning of the movie was much stronger. Like, I love the whole chase scene with the sewer monster, because then you get like the ghost trap that's on a drone. I thought that was awesome.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Point,
or the gunner seat that comes out of the car. That was awesome.
Yeah, and they actually literally does it. Or they even said no gunner seat, like that interaction. And honestly, it felt a little bit like The Incredibles, them just fighting as a family, but they're also trying to save the day.
I you know what? I totally see that.
Yeah. And
the whole Incredibles were in the, I guess in the second one where they're like fighting together and
then just like, and so like she's like, don't pull that gunner seat, we don't do that in the streets, and then she just pulls it anyway, and they're also just talking about like family dynamics and while they're just trying to bust a ghost, and I totally forgot about the drone, and that is cool. So like again, first part of that movie, and then leading up into like the ghost traps were all good.
Even the wrist rocket. Wrist one.
Yes, cool
yeah, I think that's my next project is the arm.
That was pretty awesome.
Neutrino wand.
I don't think we really saw a good shot of it being used, but we saw her like gear up with it, and then it was like kind of lost in the ensemble. I would have liked to have seen like a little close up of that. That was because I liked the design they made for that.
What do you think about McKenna's Grace and the character with I guess the other ghost
Melody?
The Melody. It was weird because it was just like she didn't have any friends and she wanted a friend, and it was like, I got this ghost friend now, and now I kind of want to be with this ghost friend as a ghost.
Yeah,
like that was like a little, like that was just like a little weird. I thought.
I don't know if they were making like either they were having a connection or it was like they had more than that. It was I didn't know where they were going with it. Was it more of like a romance situation? Was it more of like, you are my only friend and I don't feel as lonely? Because I mean,
I think that's what I think it was more. I think it was more like, I don't have any friends, and this ghost is giving me friendly attention, and I want to be near this. It's like when you make a new friend, it's like you want to be with them and you want to do the same things they do.
Right.
Companionship. You just become so involved with that one person after being alone for so long.
Right.
I mean, like us, man. We've been ever since we met. We've been so attached.
Yes, it's so attached. But look, I'll tell you what. I don't think I'm gonna put myself in a chamber to.
I would do that
to become a ghost.
I would do that for you.
You do that for me.
I would make myself a ghost for you.
I just. Well, I appreciate it. I guess.
Ghost touch. Oh no, Garaka's got me.
Yeah, ghost touch. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of drastic for her. It's like, I know a way that I can, that we can be closer together.
I don't know where they got the 2 minutes from. She's like, I can be a ghost for 2 minutes. I was like, well, where did that come from? Where did the 2 minutes come from?
Yeah, but also, I mean, I'll give a pass because she knew awfully a lot about this contraption, only just discovering it. But she is smart.
She's descended from Egon.
Yeah. They kind of went over that she's very, very smart. So I'm not gonna knock on that. But like, to your point, there's like all of a sudden there's rules on this contraption that we barely had any information on, and it was just like, I'm just gonna basically kill myself.
That's
I was like, what?
What is happening?
That's pretty intense. But then she came back because they just need to possess a ghost. And then she was able to go back into her body. So, I thought she was just going to be out for the third half, like the last act of the movie. But we just kind of integrated that pretty well. Yeah, it just there's a lot of story beats just didn't add up to me. That kind of just threw me out of the movie a little bit. And then by the end, to your point, it's like, what's Finn's Wolfhard lesson? You can drive now.
Yeah,
you're an adult.
We'll let you drive now.
We can let you drive now. But yeah, I don't even know if they even prepped this movie for Paul Rudd to take the lead. Like, I didn't, aside from the ghost being...
I didn't feel that. I saw somebody had mentioned that, like, oh, Paul Rudd's now, the leader of the Ghostbusters. Or maybe that's not quite what they said, but they were just like, they were upset about Paul Rudd's role. Oh, they said this is the Paul Rudd Ghostbusters. It's like, this is his movie. And I was like, I don't think that any singular character had like a spotlight in this movie.
No, that's a really good point that you mentioned that, because I agree with you. I don't think anyone I don't think they gave anyone enough time to give them a full arc, except for maybe McKenna Grace, but
that's what maybe her. I initially thought Paul Rudd, but then after you said it, and kind of just like thinking about the movie, I think she is setting up to be the lead maybe in the next movie, because otherwise we just spent a whole movie of growing her character.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah, because then at the end of the day, like, what, Paul Rudd gets to be called Dad? Yeah. Like I don't know what know what that means. It's
as far as actual growth, she had the most growth.
Right. I don't even remember them, like, him and Kaylee. Is it Kelly Coon? Kaylee Coon, the mother in the movie. Carrie Coon. The mother in it. I don't even know if they even shared a kiss in the movie.
No.
Like it was.
Did they? Maybe they did.
I don't know if they did or not. I don't remember. But like they didn't even focus on their relationship, like, at all in the movie. So like all of a sudden just calling him Dad is like, well, I guess you just been around long enough, but you didn't really focus on them having a relationship, other than like they're having a conversation with each other, and then he's like, you know what, just busting makes me feel good.
busting makes me feel good.
It's almost like they're making Ghostbusters a family affair, but yet we also had other people that were part of the Ghostbusters, but they didn't really have any time. Like, even podcasts, it's like, first of all, before I even dive into that, these kids grew like a lot.
Well, I mean, so they filmed this movie at the end of 2018, or the first movie they filmed either at the end of 2018 or in 2019 was Afterlife, is when they started. So it's been 5 years.
That's fair. Because you make a good point. Because of the pandemic, they had a lot of delays in the movie. It didn't come out till November of 21, and then we had 2.5 later we get the sequel, which I might have also been pushed back as well. I don't really remember.
I think the original date was December 23.
Okay, I think you're right.
Originally.
And then they ended up pushing it back to March, and they bumped it up by 2 weeks, I believe. But yeah, it's an interesting. What am I trying to say? Like, I lost my train of thought. I remember now. It was, they grew a lot. They grew a lot from the first movie, and it felt very like jarring, especially like watching Afterlife the day before, like as a rewatch. And all of a sudden, like, I'm an adult now. Like, hell yeah, you are. Holy shit. Like, yeah, they're saying, like, oh, I'm still a kid. It's like, I don't know. You look pretty old to me.
So far, you're like a grown-ass man.
You look like a grown-ass man. It's like the Stranger Things effect in this sense. But
yes,
luckily, they never try to go to school. There was these movies are happening always in the summer, so it's not as jarring. But yeah, anyway, go back to podcasts. He looks vastly different than anybody from.
I didn't recognize him.
I didn't recognize him, and I was like, "Who's?"
Yeah, he was like, it was like he was like a baby in Afterlife, and now he's just like a full teenager. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, who? Like, it took me a minute. Like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, I thought it was a new character.
That was a new character too. Yeah, and then they said the name. Like, holy shit! Like,
it's like, oh, I guess it is him.
I wasn't sure if they recast it, and in a way, to look it up. I was like, no, same guy. Wow. But also, I don't feel like he did much in the movie as well. Like, he was
no, not really.
He was pretty prominent in Afterlife as like the main comic relief, and he had a ton of good lines. In Afterlife, and now I just feel like him being with Dan Aykroyd, the pairing makes sense, but I don't feel like they gave, like I said before, a lot of people much of growth in this movie. They were just like, I'm just gonna be in this because I'm supposed to be. Honestly, you take out the original Ghostbusters in this, and the movie doesn't change that much aside from the nostalgic factor.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would leave Ray and Winston in there just because you kind of need them, but like you could take, and I hate to say this, but you could totally just take out Bill Murray's character altogether.
Absolutely. And also Annie Potts, who all of a sudden throws on the suit, and they made Bill Murray makes a comment. It's like, I forgot her name, but it was
Melnitz in uniform.
Right. Melnitz in uniform, and then she, says a quippy line to him. But like, what that didn't really solve anything. Like, I don't know what we were. To be honest, toward the end, I don't know what we were doing or trying to showcase. Like, okay, the original Ghostbusters are all back. We have the new Ghostbusters are here. The new generation trying to fight together to defeat this villain, and it just kind of all haphazardly come together. And and the guy just walks in and freezes them all.
Like nothing.
Like nothing. It was like it wasn't even a threat. Like having all these people to come together didn't feel like it meant anything. And then it was up to McKenna Grace, who had
dipped the part of it in brass.
Right. The only person that had that to help out. And then who came in last minute to save the day? It was her friend, right?
It was Kumail. He came in with the fire.
With the fire. Yeah.
But Melody had the match.
Yes, I knew she came in to do something.
So here and then like that was her thing. Like she couldn't leave Earth until. So was she just on Earth for the Garak for the purpose of this whole thing, and then that was why?
No, well she said
to help somebody.
She couldn't move on.
Yeah.
Well, I think she started the fire in her house that like killed her whole family, and that's why she has the matches, and and maybe helping out in this situation helped her to move on.
Well, yes.
Okay.
In the context of the story, but I think also it was promised by Garak that I would help you move on. I'll make you move on, or help you move on if you help me. And so she was kind of influenced that way. And then at the end of the day, he's like, "Oh, I didn't need Garak to do that. I just it was all inside me all along." It's one of those stories.
Yeah.
Where it's like, "Oh, it's not a physical thing that someone can do for me. I need to do this for myself." And then I think when she was able to kind of let go of her grief, I guess at this point, or like what her actions and kind of acceptance, I guess at that point, then she was able to move on from it. And we saw that with Egon from Afterlife, because even McKenna Grace was like I've seen it happen, and it's a beautiful thing to kind of move on and not be stuck in this, I guess, in the sense of an in-between. But honestly, if we were going to go with that story, I would have loved to see, like, I think they briefly mentioned it, I don't really remember, but like you have the character of a ghost, and then you have all these other weird looking ones like Slimer and the red dot, I forgot his name, the Possessor. So like,
and Pukey.
Exactly. So like, how did they turn into this? But then we have a character who is normal trying to move on. Like,
I know that and I can't like off the top of my head tell you what the different classifications of ghosts are, but there is like a hierarchy of like different ghosts and what the classifications are.
Then how does Slimer become Slimer? I guess at that point, like, were you once human and then all of a sudden you got here too long and then you're like, bleh, bleh, bleh.
Maybe he ate himself to death.
Himself to death.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of wish that we kind of stuck with because now for me the ghosts angle of it just feels not. It just doesn't make much sense. I'd rather ghosts either just be silly like they have been all along, except for Harold, because that was a beautiful story. But then maybe work it in there of like why you have different ghosts.
Well, like, but also like the library ghost. The library ghost was like, a full person.
But then she has like that demon.
Face.
Yeah, and then don't be talking in her library. She's gonna get you.
I mean, it's a fair thing as a librarian, either alive or a ghost. You should not be talking in that library.
Shut your mouth.
Like it's kind of library.
This is where we read.
Like, yeah, you're supposed to be. I respect that, and she's still doing this for multiple, probably for forever.
Decades, yeah. Probably before
at least
that.
40 years that we know of that she's been haunting those halls. I want to briefly talk about the box office. Since I'm with Ernesto, I don't have any of this
information. I can pull it up.
I have it. Yeah, you want to pull it up too? I'm going to read it off
so that everybody can join in on.
Do you want me to wait?
You can start.
Did it end at 45?
Well, for the opening weekend, it had 45. 45. Yeah. Right now, at the time of this recording, which is Thursday, so about almost a week since the movie came out, it has 52 million domestically, 16.3 internationally, and 68 million worldwide. So at that point, what I found interesting was that opening weekend for Ghostbusters Afterlife was 42 million or 41 million, and that was in the midst of the pandemic where the theaters weren't fully open just yet. Like, people were still warming up to go to the theater by November of 21, and I read a lot of articles that were mentioning that the movie opened at 41 million, and so now 2.5 years later, where things are like, okay, these are the numbers that it's going to be, it only made an extra 3 mil more than without the threat of the pandemic looming. So like that, I think that was an interesting comparison. But right now, even in a week, we barely made 10 million. going out the door. So now total we're looking at 68.5 million worldwide as a total gross, and the movie was about 100 mil to make. So as we know, in order to make a profit, you're looking at least 250 to make this justifiable. At the rate that it's going, we'll see how second weekend goes.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It's pretty close. I think that there's enough there. I think there's enough intrigue into the franchise that regardless if this one wasn't a success, I'll be very surprised if they don't make another movie. I'll say that.
Well, I agree with you there, because I know they're trying. I know like they announced so many like Ghostbusters things. Like obviously there was a sequel that was coming out, and maybe another animated series that was in the works, or an animated movie.
They're in. I think they're in pre-production for that right now.
Series. Okay.
For Netflix, yeah.
That's right. I knew there's something in the works. So, like, I don't think the brand of Ghostbusters is going to go anywhere. But I think that obviously they're going to be looking into this because they spent $100 million, which isn't a lot compared to other movies out there. But also, I mean, as of the first week, we're not even getting that back in a return. And unfortunately for Ghostbusters Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, there's another little movie called Godzilla X Kong, a new empire that's going to steal all.
Oh, that's gonna that for sure. That's gonna steal
its box office.
Steal number one spot for sure.
I mean, it's a big CGI blockbuster.
Yeah,
so it's gonna do relatively well, even no matter how good or bad the movie is.
Yeah, no, like you go into that movie for one purpose, is that to see you see big monsters fight.
You see, yeah, exactly. See monsters punch and stuff.
I want to see Kong's robot arm.
For whatever weird reason, that's the thing.
His little transformer arm.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I also one thing I want to say about Frozen Empire is I wonder if there's another cut of the movie. There are several scenes from the trailer that don't make it to the movie, and I wonder like if there's a separate cut that we're not going to see.
I did see a lot of people who I guess either made or invested some sort of money or time into either making or buying the red suits. And
the red jackets that get like 5 minutes of
they were barely there,
right?
Of screen time.
I feel like a lot of it's even the poster. We're looking at it right now. Like, are you in the same boat of like you invested this much time into, or maybe I feel like that was more of an expectation thing on most people. I'd be like, oh, this is the new look for the Ghostbusters, which it kind of is.
Well, I mean, for like if there was more like cold. In the if in the film there was more like frozen stuff, which they made it seem like it was going to be like half the movie was going to be like winter.
Yeah, I mean, we get that whole scene and I think maybe this might be what you were talking about, where like Paul Rudd is standing on like a roof wearing the red jacket. Where the hell is that?
And they all have them on.
He's like, ho, 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 ho. I think that was the part of the trailer.
Yeah.
So there absolutely must be. Like, so maybe at one point, the end of this movie was like the middle of this movie, and then we actually have time where he actually is wreaking havoc, and I think that would have been awesome. Yeah. Let's deal with little frozen monsters, little frozen whatever. Deal with the ghost that he's possessing. Like,
to your point, like that taking like that beach scene of it being like frozen over. That was the first teaser that they showed that in there, and like this is the threat that's happening, like looming over New York City in the summertime. That didn't happen till like an hour.
It was almost the end.
Almost like an hour.
Yeah, almost the end. Yeah.
What, maybe 90 minutes in the movie? Maybe like an hour 15 into the movie, and I was like, wow, like it took us a while to get here, and then like the New York actually being frozen was very minimal to it, and then when we just showed off the city, and then the rest of the movie was back in the firehouse, and then that was it. I would have much rather, to your point, have that happen in the middle.
Yeah.
If not closer. Like, honestly, we could have, I mean...
Like, that should have been the second act.
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I think the setup was great. But instead, I think we spent the second act learning about our MacGuffin, our like, this possessed item. And that's when we took time to meet Kumail Nanjiani. And that's when we took time to have Finn Wolfhard mess with Slimer. And that's when we had time for McKenna Grace to meet with a ghost. And also go to the library and, like, meet Pat Oswalt. And so Is it Oswald? Yeah.
Patton Oswalt.
Thank you, Patton Oswalt. And so like we.
Like the Lucky Rabbit.
Thank you. Yeah, the Lucky Rabbit. And so like we spent all this time in the middle here, and then it was like, okay, now here's our bad guy, and it just felt too quick to me, because now, to your point, the ending makes it seem like now we're gonna be busting some ghosts.
Yes.
Now it's time to wrangle back up everybody again and all these different ghosts, and like that's what the movie's gonna be, maybe.
I almost wish like if we'd had the firehouse, like if we had the beginning of the firehouse scene, and then we cut to them spreading out in the city. Like that would have been perfect, because then we could have had like little 5-minute moments of all the characters, including all the nostalgic characters, busting ghosts as like, and then this is your time to bust a ghost, and then we could have seen all these little things in action, and then could have met back at the firehouse. Like it could have been like an extra 5 minutes of the movie, and it would have made a world of a difference. It probably would have made a world of a difference.
I'd like that movie. As soon as you,
I would have seen that movie.
As soon as you said that, I'm like, damn, that's it. Yeah. That's what it was missing.
Yes,
it was missing them actually going out there, whether it's in the vehicle or not, of like just going out there and like wrangling up the troops, or wrangling up the ones that kind of got away, maybe getting some but not all.
Yes,
and like then like the big, like he's actually terrorizing.
He's actually you actually would see his frozen empire.
Yeah, and then just like the Avengers, we had this one shot where they're like, and then like they're all like, they're like getting sucked in, and the drone's doing its own thing, and like da 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 da. In this case, with like da 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 da.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, and then like that's the part we're missing right there. That's what I wanted. Yes. I wanted that part.
Yes.
We missed that part. What happened?
We did miss that part. Yeah, that's one thing I miss from these last two movies, is like a ghost montage.
Yes.
That's
exactly what we needed.
I think that would have made the movie a world of difference. And also, I mean, honestly, take away the girl ghost trying to, because she had an arc too.
Yeah,
she had an arc. She more arc than anybody else.
Absolutely,
I was able to move on, and like it was a weird part that like it was she was a supporting character for McKenna Grace to, I guess, be one with herself. I don't know where
to kind of help her like come into her own, like kind of like let her be able to gave her that thing to help her move on, that helped her grow as a person and as a Ghostbuster and as like a person, a part of this team.
Right.
Like because once she was able to overcome that, then like everything just like clicked.
Sure, but also like part of it was that she was denied to do it, but she did it anyway. Like technically, except for this weird interaction at the end of the movie where he was like, the mayor comes out, he's like, "You guys, you," and then he's like, "We're great," you're saying, in front of the cameras, and then he's like, "Oh, yeah,
oh yeah,
the Ghostbusters are amazing," and then all of a sudden it's like, everything's great again. All right, you can go back in the car. You're still 17. Things didn't change, but you can drive, and you can still bust ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, and so like nothing around them changed to make that happen. They were just, the movie told us that it's okay now. The movie told us that it wasn't okay, and then they told us that it was. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't Afterlife. I know it's funny because I also read a lot of people being like, when they watched Afterlife, I didn't like Afterlife because it wasn't like Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And then Frozen Empire came out. It's like, I didn't like Frozen Empire because it wasn't like Afterlife. It's like, well, you got to make up your mind there.
One or the other.
But I don't even think it was Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I think it was a little bit of mix of, you had like some of the serious tone that was coming from Afterlife, and then you had the silliness that was Ghostbusters 1 and 2, but I don't think together it meshed to what they wanted it to.
And Afterlife actually was able to achieve both, because we got a lot of those cheesy one-liners, but it was just worked. I think it worked better within. They worked it into the story better than this one did.
But I think it was also like, I think Podcast was a lot of the goofy one-liners that he was providing that kind of gave some levity to the movie. But it also just makes sense that Paul Rudd just being like this summer teacher who didn't really give a shit, and like a lot of that movie just worked for me. Like, it made a lot of sense.
I wonder though if Afterlife they had more time to cook with that story.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they had a little more time with the script, and this one they had to maybe go, okay, this movie was great, now we got to start working on a script. Right. that I feel like that happens a lot.
Yes.
Where you get the first thing, you get it right because you've had time to work on it, and there was no pressure. Right. And now that there's pressure, it kind of like falls flat a little bit.
Sure, I can 100% see that for sure. Would you think that the director switching hands? You think that had anything to do with maybe some of the shortcomings that this movie had? Do you think that was a big impact?
I don't really think so, just because I think that both Reitman and him are the co-collaborators. They've worked together for a long time. I don't think that it would have made such a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, but given his track record, Ernesto, can you go back to like our rundown? Given his track record, like he has not been putting out bangers of movies that I would enjoy, like Juno and Up in the Air, like those are Oscar-nominated films that's in there, as well as the Ghostbusters Afterlife that was great in my opinion from Jason Reitman.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have Gil Kenan, who's made movies like Monster House and City of Embers and the 2015 Poltergeist movie that nobody liked, and like A Boy Called Christmas, which was fine. I've seen all these movies, and none of them were like over the top amazing. Like he knows how to make a movie, but like nothing that like I was like really enjoying. So I don't know, maybe something was just missing from this that Jason Reitman was able to provide.
Well, it seems like there's now after we've kind of talked it out, at least in my eyes, it feels like there's a part of the movie that's missing.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know exactly what that is. Maybe it was that montage you were talking about earlier.
I think so. I mean, that would have made the movie awesome. Like if you give us that same teamwork that we had in the beginning fighting the sewer monster, but you give us the final battle version of that.
Yeah, because like to what I said earlier, it was like what's the villain's name again?
Garaka.
I'm Garaka.
Garaka.
And now you're frozen.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even like, and they were even building him up too. It's like, oh, this guy, he's a force of nature, blah blah blah. What are we gonna do about it? And then it was like, we're gonna put one gun, have brass, not all of them, just the one.
Just the one, yeah.
And she's gonna be going through her own thing. So you guys figure this out. And then he just like, psh, and then it was like Elsa, bam, and then boom, they're all frozen. And it's like, well, that was easy. So yeah, and then he let the ghost out. But I do think the ghost should have been out a lot sooner. Like I think we could have cut some things in the middle, bump up the whole frozen part, and then we could have gotten that montage at the end. And then even end it the same way of everyone getting their character arcs, and then we move on from there, because there was an end credit scene. I forgot what it was.
The Stay Puft.
It was the mini Stay Puft stealing a marshmallow truck.
Right.
The only thing, if we go that route, is and then they would have to figure out again. Well, I guess you could use the same ending of trapping Garaka, because then all the ghosts get out. I guess they could just all be out, and then they find a way to lure him back. To the. So I guess the only difference is that you would have to write in a way for them to get him to come back to the firehouse, for them to trap him into the big trap.
Right, or another MacGuffin that he needed, because realistically, I think Garaka just got there to release the ghosts.
Yes,
the ghosts. Yeah, because he wanted the ghost army to do his bidding,
and so then he did that. And then he froze the Ghostbusters, and that was like, he was done. I was like, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Like he hit that button and was like, he was good to go. So like, yeah. So to your point, at any moment, how were the Ghostbusters going to leave the firehouse, or why would he would have left the firehouse when that mission was there? That's not our jobs to rework it. That was just our job to analyze it. But, but yeah, there were just a couple things there. But Nick, your final thoughts on the movie?
There was a lot of bloatedness in the movie, but like overall, I liked it. 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Okay.
What about out of 5?
7 out of 10. I had fun.
What about out of 5?
I went to the movies twice to go see it.
What's your 5-star rating out of 5? So I guess that'd be.
And you can go half
out of 5.
You can go half star if you want.
Well, I guess that would count as 3.5. I guess.
Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, I think that's how math works. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that'd be 3.5.
Yeah, half of 7 is 3.5.
Half of 7 is 3.5.
Clearly not math majors.
We're talking about movies. We don't talk about math. We're talking about. Okay, so but I mean, I guess at the end of the day, you had a good time watching the movie. It's another movie about Ghostbusters.
I didn't go to see Schindler's List or or Oppenheimer. So
it's not The Dark Knight Rises.
Exactly.
That's gonna be the next movie. It's gonna be like Logan, like the Logan version of Ghostbusters. It's like Dan Aykroyd as Logan.
And he just has him opening up. It's been a long time since I've
Okay.
Actually, make a pretty good movie.
Lone Ghostbuster, that's what it's called. And then,
or instead of like the last Ronin for Ninja Turtles, you do like the last Ghostbuster.
The last Ghostbuster.
It's like a sad Dan Aykroyd. He's got like a robot arm. That's a pro. Actually, his arm is a proton.
Is the proton guy? Yeah.
Yes. That's
he's got like a cybernetic eye. He's been fucked up by ghosts. Maybe he's got a ghost that's trapped in his body that he works with, that he has to deal with.
Amazing.
We could really go nuts.
His sidekick is Slimer.
Yes.
His sidekick is Slimer, and he's like, I've seen the same shit you've seen. It's been a long day.
Like an old Slimer.
Old Slimer.
Like old saggy Slimer. Maybe he's got like a hat and a trench coat.
And then at the end of the movie, he dies. Like he sacrificed himself.
He has to sacrifice himself. He has to sacrifice himself to save Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, then you get a whole death scene.
Absolutely. And then everyone gets emotional because
I like this movie so far.
He gets emotional.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But he's eating along the way. He's still like the comic relief. He's eating, but he's also grumpy. Like a grumpy old man, but he's funny, but he just keeps eating.
Kind of like a Oscar the Grouch type.
Yes. And then all of a sudden he dies because he doesn't like Dan Aykroyd, but he has to be with him for whatever reason.
But the setting is, it's a post-apocalyptic New York.
Okay.
So like with wasteland New York.
Where is he? Like, why is he out? Is he bust? The last bust. Ooh,
dang!
Ooh, the last bust.
The last bust.
I like that.
And you take the white Ghostbuster and you make it like look sad, sad and dirty.
As a tear.
Yeah.
One teardrop for every ghost you caught.
The last bust is him.
Yeah.
He's like, we're in the search to find this guy. Right there. We're in search to find him.
He has a name, right?
No, I don't know. What's his name?
Yeah, his name's Moogly.
Moogly?
When do we ever see Moogly?
In the 2016
not
Ghostbusters.
In the movies. He's in the real Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay.
Isn't he also in the 2016 Ghostbusters as well? The one with Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig?
Is he? I've only seen that movie like once or twice. I don't know.
Sure,
maybe.
Like he comes out like he is a threat. I gotta rewatch that movie again because I think there were a lot more busted in that movie than I remember.
Yeah, there was a lot going on in that movie.
There was a lot.
That movie was not as bad as people say it is.
Absolutely not. No, I enjoyed that movie.
Fine.
Yeah, and also you have Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, being all the villain and this goofy guy. And he's like, I think that's one of the few movies. I'm sure there was multiples, but that was one of them where like, wait, this guy's kind of funny.
Yeah, this guy's
got some skills. That came out in 2016. That was like shortly after Avengers Age of Ultron, so like he has some comedic chops on him. Ernesto, your final thoughts on the movie?
I'm in the same boat as Nick. I really enjoyed it. It also really helps that my kids really enjoyed it. And, like we all had a good time. Like the movie was fun. Like there were some cool, like the whole first half was great. I loved that whole scene in the beginning where they're busting the sewer ghost. Like that whole scene, start to finish, I thought was well executed. It fit well. Like it was really fun. We got to see all the different traps, and, and I just kind of wanted more resolution. Excuse me. I guess what I should say is I actually wanted more of Garaka wreaking havoc, like seeing an actual frozen empire. It's like I just wished what happened in the third act happened in the second act, and then we just get more resolution. And it could have been the whole third act could have been them taking him out and them setting up like this whatever the next phase of Ghostbusters is going to be, and like maybe a very small tease within the movie for whatever the next movie is going to be.
Yeah, because we never really, aside from like a kind of a throwaway of like the mini marshmallows kind of stealing the truck, we didn't really get a tease for what's next to come like we did with Afterlife. Again, we can assume that the Ghostbusters will be busting the ghosts that got released and putting them back in the trap.
Yeah.
If that's the movie, it's a simple plot, but it can work though.
Yeah.
It can work, and you don't need. It's another story that you don't need the original actors to come back. I think.
Yeah.
Just Ernie Hudson.
Yeah, just Ernie. Yeah, I do not think they are. I hate to say this, but I don't think they're needed anymore from the direction that we've been going in so far. I think they can move on from their roles, not legacy. Return, and or if they do, because in a way they're still kind of integrated with the story. They haven't really lost it. They're still around, but I don't know. Maybe just kill one off. Again,
That really wants his
they're old.
He really wants his dark Ghostbusters.
You know,
I want this dark Ghostbusters for sure. I know a lot of people like the Ghostbusters fun and silly, and I'm not that guy. I want them dark and menacing. But I think you kill one of them off, show some weight to some what's going on. Even though they kind of killed the Ghostbusters in Afterlife, so I guess that makes sense. They didn't kill one, but no, he did die in the beginning of the movie. So yeah. I take that back. They already did that. Do it again. Do
it again.
Yeah, kill them all.
Catch them.
But yeah, no, I can. So, what's your Letterboxd rating?
I'm gonna go with Nick because I'm floating between 3 and 3.5. So I'm gonna hit 3.5. I'm gonna go 3.5.
I'll hit the half point for me that it was still a fun movie.
Yeah.
The half, because I was floating back and forth, but at the end of the day, it was a fun movie. It's not like it wasn't a bad movie by any means. No. I can go back and rewatch this and feel just fine with it. I guess at the end of the day, I just wanted more from it. But I think for me it helped that I absolutely lowered my expectations from Afterlife, because I'm like, I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna get that again. So I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. So I think that helped. And you got your nostalgia in there. Yeah, you had a great opening, again, the great first act, a great setup into the rest of the movie. I don't think they stick the landing. I think that's where my thing is, and we've talked about this many times, where the ending is as important as everything else in the movie, and if you don't do that, then it kind of taints it a little bit, and it could be a lot better. And for the sake of lack of a better term, you get slime all over it.
I agree with you. The ending, well, at least for me, the ending is everything, because you could have a movie that starts bad, but if it has an amazing ending, you'll be more willing to suffer through the bad parts to see how they got to such an amazing ending.
Right, and if it was a great movie with a great ending, it's just the cherry on top of the cake there. You know, it's so I just wish that we could have gotten that in that movie. Otherwise, it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. I don't. Where would this sit for you, Nick, amongst the 4 movies that were out?
Amongst the 4 movies? Oh boy. Probably like 3 or 4, closer to the bottom. I like Ghostbusters 2 a lot, so that's probably number 1, and then somewhere probably Afterlife's number 2, and then number 1's number 3, and then this would probably be 4.
Okay. So
because I like number 1 a lot, but I don't know. There's something about Afterlife that's I think is just slightly better.
I agree. I think, but for me, number 1 would be Ghostbusters 2. To me, that's the best one.
It's funny because I've heard mixed feelings about Ghostbusters 2. A lot of people like it, a lot of people hate it. I'm on the same point with both of you guys. I like 2 more than 1.
Yeah, I agree. It just opens up the world. We don't have to deal with all that setup anymore. But it's what this movie should have been. It was a lot. It was just, let's get into the busting.
Yes. Yeah. And which it did. It opened up to it.
Actually,
it opened right into it. Yeah. All the lead up is all gone from the first movie. Now we can just get into it. But yeah, and so for me it's Afterlife. That's the best Ghostbusters movie I've seen so far, and then probably 2, and then 1, and then this one. So I guess in hindsight, this was the worst Ghostbusters movies we've seen, but that's not necessarily like a knock on.
It's not like a bad thing, you know. It's just like there's 4, and you have to rank them.
Yeah. But overall, I think that we could have had a stronger story,
of course,
in there, and I think that's his biggest problem. I do think it was overstuffed because not everyone had its own moment. You could have taken out 3 characters and not touched the movie at all.
Accurate.
It wouldn't have Bill Murray, Podcast, and Celeste O'Connor, who played the.
I mean, just looking at the poster, all of the smallest characters on the poster you could probably get rid of.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty much.
You know?
Yeah, I mean,
you could get rid of all of the smallest characters.
Actually, I would
on the poster.
I would take it a step further, and I would swap Ernie Hudson and Bill Murray.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bill Murray for the sake of this poster was just a face. He's more recognizable. and he had no purpose in this movie except for zero purpose of it.
And I'm surprised that he's like still doing these, because there used to be rumors of Dan Aykroyd sending him Ghostbusters scripts, and he would send them back shredded. He would like just send it, he'd run it through a shredder and send it back. Wouldn't even entertain the idea.
Well, it's weird because like now, right? Like, that was many years ago, different mindset. And then, the first one made money. Oh, we're doing this. Things change when it's popular again.
Of course.
Yeah. So, like, I think Jason Reitman did a lot of the heavy lifting of because even he himself was like, I'm never gonna do a Ghostbusters movie, like, because a lot of people expected it coming from from his father, and he obviously he ended up doing it in this fashion. So, like, you just never know how years down the line how that would change.
Yeah. He was in the second Ghostbusters movie, right?
Yes, I did know that. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I didn't know that. Who does he play?
So in the beginning, there's it's Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, and they're doing a kids party, and the kids like boo the Ghostbusters.
Oh, I remember that
like
part.
almost immediately, and he comes up and goes, my dad says you guys are full of crap, and that's Jason Reitman.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, I guess with that is our spoiler review on Ghostbusters Afterlife. Doesn't quite hit the highs from the previous film, but it's still a fun watch nonetheless. Another fine addition into the franchise, and I wouldn't mind seeing more. I feel like, as always, this franchise always has the potential to be either better or has something going for it that a lot of people would just love about this movie, that I think there's still room for a better product out there.
I mean, maybe this one wasn't as great as some of the other ones. But what if, because it was a lot, it feels like a big setup.
Yeah.
It feels like the movie it just feels like all world building setup.
Yeah.
For what's so maybe what's really going to happen is whatever's to come next.
Right. And
I wonder if they're going to spin off that whole that engineering unit.
Yeah, they're so
with James Acaster. Because I felt like they spent a lot of time building him up, and it was just like outside of the movie.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
like you can easily have a series centered around that. What I'll be a little upset about is because the animated series that they're working on for Netflix, if that was the animated series, like, oh, the ghosts are out, we got to go find them, and that's where that led. Because I can see a world that that's what they would do with it.
So then, let's not make it the third act of the movie. Let's just make a whole cartoon series.
Right.
Yeah.
And then from there, because there's also a world where they were like, hey, go watch the cartoon and see what happened in between movies 2 and 3.
True.
And then, you go watch that. So I think there's still life in this.
Well, they have that. That's what the comic book is doing.
That was between 1 and 2, right?
Oh, wait. No, that's 1 and 2. Never mind. My bad. Which I'm curious about. I didn't realize there was a comic book based off of the events that was happening. I mean, there is 3 years in between, so I guess a lot could happen.
But they have a whole bunch of comics. They have a whole.
They're previously. Yeah, I think IDW previously had a Ghostbusters run, and now it's Dark Horse has it for this Afterlife mid. This Afterlife between Afterlife and Frozen Empire.
But yeah, like I said, I think there's enough room here for something a little bit better than what we got. But I mean, at this point, I don't think the Ghostbusters are going anywhere. They had a lull, and now they're kind of back on the public eye, and it proves that people are still interested, but maybe not as interested as they thought. So who knows? But I'm interested to see what the next step is in this franchise, movie wise. Who's coming back, who's writing, who's directing, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, we're still here.
Me too. For it. I'm sure in June we'll find something out. I'm sure they'll make a big announcement at the anniversary.
Oh, for sure. That's a good point. At least one more movie left in the tank.
Yeah, give it
round it out. Minimum.
At minimum. Yeah. But Nick, thank you very much for coming in onto the show and giving us your input.
Yeah, no problem.
On the Ghostbusters. What's your love for more, Ghostbusters or Mario?
Ooh, good question.
Probably Ghostbusters. Yeah. Well, because like it's like Nintendo as a whole and then Ghostbusters, but like if we were just doing Mario, it's probably Ghostbusters.
Well, I mean, how many? I guess the better question: how many more Ghostbusters artifacts do you have than Nintendo, or do they kind of share?
I probably have more Nintendo stuff. The Ghostbusters things are bigger than the Nintendo things.
That's fair. But yeah, we appreciate you coming back onto the show as always. We did hear quickly while we have you the news that we talked about this on last week's episode, that they're coming out with a sequel to Mario, like the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but they didn't say it was going to be a sequel. It was going to be another movie.
They said it was going to be in the world,
the
right?
World of Super Mario Bros.
That's right.
So what would you like to see come out of that? Like where is your like thoughts on that little tidbit of news? Because if we're not, they made a point to say they was in the world of it, so we're not getting a direct sequel from what the movie was.
Yeah.
But where would you like to see the focus on?
I would like to see like something with Yoshi.
Mm-hmm.
I know they kind of teased Yoshi at the end of the Mario movie. I'd like to see something with Yoshi. Yoshi's probably my favorite Mario character.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I wanted to see. I mean, Donkey Kong is kind of prominent as well, but I just thought it was interesting that they kind of singled out. It was like, not necessarily a sequel to what we had, but we're still playing with the world. And also, like, they're still working with Illumination, and then they had the live action Zelda movie that they're working on with Sony. So I was like, Nintendo.
There's a rumor. So speaking of the Zelda movie, there's a rumor that McKenna Grace is going to play Zelda.
I could
totally
see it.
Oh.
I could see it.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
I see it.
But Zelda doesn't speak, correct?
No. Link doesn't speak.
Sorry, Link.
Zelda's the princess.
I'm not, you know, I don't know.
You lose nerd points for that.
I was gonna say, give me your nerd card.
Yeah, sorry.
Go in the other room.
I'm just gonna tee it up. So next Ernesto, who are we reviewing for next week?
We are reviewing the long-awaited. I think this one is gonna be my movie of the year. We are reviewing Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. You see Mecha Godzilla and Kong with his Transformer arm.
This movie's gonna be ridiculous. Let's be real. This movie looks bonk.
The first one was good. I liked the first one.
The first one was good. This one just looks like look at the post. They're running at us. They're running. Why are they running? They're just running, period. What's going on here? This movie just feels like it's just gonna be bonkers, and I like it a lot. So I'm looking forward to have hopefully a good time with this movie. And I'm not expecting Godzilla -1 because that was a way different movie than what this is going to be.
How dare you even utter them in the same sentence?
I know. But based off of Godzilla versus Kong, this is my guess. Story's not going to make any sense, but we're gonna have a wacky movie.
It's gonna be a fun time.
And dinosaurs and big monsters are just gonna
big monsters punching
with a Transformers on. Arm.
It's a Transformer.
It's a Transformer. If Mark Wahlberg comes out of nowhere and just says that, I would love it. I was like, this movie's it. This made it for me.
Movie of the year.
Movie of the year. I'm waiting to have a good time with it. So hopefully it doesn't disappoint on that front. Because if it doesn't deliver on at least having fun, then what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But if you want more from us, you can always follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Box Office Bingers, our X and Letterboxd page at Box Office Binger, and our Threads and Instagram page at Box Office _Bingers. So much goodies on
so much goodies
on each one of those
platforms.
Social media. I was gonna say streaming services, like they're not streaming services. All of those social media platforms. You can see our lovely faces on our YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram page through the Reels, or you can see the whole video on our YouTube page.
Yes.
And all of our movie reviews on our Letterboxd page, as well as all the latest breaking news on our Threads, Instagram, and our Facebook page. So a lot of good stuff there. You don't want to miss out. If you are, thank you, and if you're not, what are you doing? You listen to us for the next hour and a bit. Just follow us for more.
Yeah.
We can't be that bad.
Yeah, you made it this far.
Exactly. Nick, again, you're always welcome to come back on.
Love having you on.
It's been a fun time.
Thank you.
I think I think we know that another Sonic movie is coming out by the end of the year.
Oh boy! Oh yeah, Sonic. What was it? The third one?
Sonic 3. Oh boy, yeah.
I think I saw Jim Carrey is gonna return.
Nick Carrey is he's gonna return. Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is going to return. And there's also coming out with the Knuckles series next month, I believe, on Paramount Plus. I'm
all for that. I thought Idris Elba did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
So, like, Sonic is also not another character that's not going anywhere. So, most likely, if you're willing to come back on, we'll probably bring you back on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Already locking it in.
Lock it in, yeah.
But yeah, we'd like to thank each and every one of you. Just listen to us just talk about movies. Really do appreciate it. Come back next week for more movie fun. You're not going to regret it. We're going to have fun talking about some monsters. First week's it was Ghost, then it's Monsters. So come back for that. It's going to be a great time. And for that, I've been your host, Matt Diaz.
And Ernesto Santos. See ya.